What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today I want to talk about shotguns and get your opinions on the weapon type as a whole, or I guess the high impact archetype more specifically, which is the main weapon everyone is talking about. There are always a lot of conversations and debates about balance in Destiny's PvP, but as of right now in year 3, shotguns seem to be definitely in the limelight. Some people absolutely despise them and think they're way too overpowered, and some people think they're fine, and the problems lie elsewhere, like the movement being too fast and the fact you can close the distance on someone in no time and get into shotgun range. And other people also think the primaries are way too weak and there's no way to effectively counter a shotgun rushing at you. So before I give my thoughts, I want you guys to leave your thoughts down below in the comment section as always. Which side are you on? What do you think about shotguns right now? You might think everything is fine. You might think Crucible is fine the way it is. So whatever you guys think, let me know in the comment section. So recently, Cosmo, who is one of the Destiny community managers at Bungie, he replied to a post on the Bungie forums about buffing primaries. So the original post was from a user called Sankas Xenon, who said that he would like to see primary weapons get buffed back to how they used to be when they ruled supreme in like year 1, I guess he's talking about. And this way, primaries will be back at their peak performance and might actually get used as primaries instead of secondaries by the majority of the player base. So Cosmo from Bungie replied to this post saying, I can take this feedback to the devs, but first I want to get some others to weigh in as I know there are 2 schools of thought on this. Let me know below if you agree that you would like to see primaries made much more powerful like the original post suggested. This would definitely decrease the time to kill across the board, which would drastically change how Destiny plays. Do you think this would be a positive or negative change? And it's already got like 700 replies, obviously a lot of people leaving their thoughts and feedback, which is cool. Now obviously Cosmo isn't saying just like that the team will actually buff primaries just because one person said it on the forum. He obviously wants to get people's opinions so the team can actually talk about it and the Crucible team can actually decide if it's something they want to do. So I also ran a poll on my own Twitter to find out what my followers think, and most people said they think the primaries need a buff, then thought shotguns need a nerf. Also, around 13% of people thought the problem is elsewhere, and only 12% thought everything is fine, which is also pretty interesting. If you want to vote for yourself in my poll, then I'll link my tweet in the description, so you can go and vote for yourself and let me know what you think while the poll is still up. So now I'm going to talk about both sides and give my thoughts on the good and bad of both options, either buffing primaries or nerfing shotguns, because obviously there's no one simple solution to make everything perfect, and Destiny nor any other game will be perfect in terms of balance. That's impossible. There'll always be some slightly more used weapons than others, and people always try to use the best gun that kills the quickest, the most effectively. So anything Bungie do always has a risk of breaking something else and creating another problem. So there's quite a lot that actually goes into the actual decision making. So on the side of buffing primaries, I can definitely see it, although I think it's a more risky move, and it has a good chance of actually breaking the game, which I think is why it's so risky. I think it would be really nice to reliably kill someone with your primary, like how they used to be back in year 1, and being able to counter a shotgun rusher wouldn't be a problem if you could just melt them down with your primary weapon. But to me, it seems like a really difficult thing to do, because Bungie spent almost 2 years of Destiny trying to balance it out and trying to balance the primaries, make sure everything isn't broken. There were times when like the Soros regime melted people, when the Mida was the best, when pulse rifles, and more recently, of course, the hand cannons were probably the best in Destiny's history, especially some of the exotics. So if Bungie were to just buff all the primaries, they could possibly undo all that work of balancing they've done for the last 2 years. I think that one of the 4 weapon types would definitely emerge as the best. My guess would probably be the hand cannons, and if they remove the bloom and ghost bullets, then that could make them a really strong weapon type. But then you got to think if you'd prefer hand cannons being strong rather than shotguns being strong right now. I think especially seeing as every primary has 4 main archetypes, the hand cannons have like 3, there are more than like 15 different primary weapon archetypes in reality, so it's really not a simple job for them to just buff primary weapons, and it's not as simple as that. There'll be some weapons that slip through the cracks and be much better than others. Like imagine if Thorn somehow became the best again and it was just all over Crucible, or Red Death could easily 2-burst people. There are a lot of weapons to think about. There are hundreds and thousands of guns, and some of them would end up being ridiculously broken, and maybe more frustrating than being shotgunned right now. So on the other side of things, that shotguns are the problem and they simply need a nerf, this is definitely the simpler option if you think about it, because nerfing one archetype of one weapon is obviously a lot easier and could be a lot less risky than buffing 15 and plus archetypes of primaries. So if you think about it, it's a lot less likely to break the game, and it might be what Bungie are leaning towards simply because it's less risky. Now that might not even be the best option either, because shotguns are actually in the weakest point they've ever been in Destiny's history. You might not believe that because they seem so strong right now, but they're actually the worst they've ever been. If you look up gameplay of Felwinter's Lie with shot package back in the day, that thing was like a fusion rifle. But despite them being nerfed into the ground every single patch in the last 2 years when Destiny's been out, they're actually being used a lot more often, and that's because they're simply the quickest way to kill someone right now. Just run at them, tank a few primary shots and blow them away, and that could be because there's no effective primaries to actually counter them. So one important thing to bear in mind is that the kill time in Destiny has slowly gone up and weapons kill slower than ever, and if you nerf shotguns, that could be one of the few things available to still kill quickly, so you might have this really boring crucible where everything is weak, nothing kills in efficient time, which could be really bad as well, where nothing just kills properly. I do know that Bungie have the mindset where they want you to team shot people with primaries, and that's kind of their mentality. They've always said they want you to play as a team and group up and team shot people, and that's how they want you to win. So if I was to guess personally, I would say that Bungie could be leaning towards nerfing shotguns, because like I said, it's a safer option, there's not as much risk as buffing every single primary weapon in the game, but like I also said, this could create a really boring crucible where everything is just weak and you can't confidently get kill streaks because nothing really does enough damage. Also, the recent sniper nerf is of course a factor here. A lot of snipers, including me, just don't really use them because the flinch is pretty ridiculous now. I basically non-stop snipe throughout Destiny so far, but as you guys will notice, the second year 3 came around, I pretty much just switched up to shotgun blade dancer. As much as I personally love sniping, I don't really disagree with that sniper flinch change. I think it's actually what Destiny needed. I remember the amount of times I would hit a sniper multiple times in the head with my primary and they'll just ping my head clean off with one shot, and that should never happen. It was super frustrating to experience, but it just doesn't really happen these days. If I see a sniper, I know I can just land a few bursts on him and they basically can't hit me. Even if they're still alive, they basically cannot snipe you with the amount of flinch there is, and I think that's how it personally should be. But shotguns are obviously a lot more reliable than snipers right now because everyone is playing a lot more aggressive in year 3. There are modes like supremacy, which of course lead to shotgun playstyles, and if you don't use a shotgun, then you're basically at a disadvantage. So as ever, Bungie have a really difficult job on their hands. Obviously, a lot of people aren't happy with shotguns, whatever side you fall on, whether you think they need to be nerfed or something else needs to be buffed as a counter. Only about 10% of my Twitter poll thought that everything is fine in Crucible right now with shotguns, meaning 90% think this is a problem and something needs to be changed. So that was pretty interesting. Now, I do think that primaries are in the best state they've ever been in balance-wise to each other, and I can think of at least like 5 hand cannons, pulse rifles, or scout rifles that I'd happily use and do well with in Crucible. Autos are a bit on the weaker side right now, but for the most part, primaries are pretty even to each other at least, so maybe it's a safer option to nerf the high-impact shotguns by themselves and see if that makes Destiny 2 slow and boring, and then maybe try buffing primaries again. That's what I do personally. As much as buffing primary sounds good, I think there's a real risk of creating a crazily broken weapon somewhere, but there you go, those are my thoughts. As I said, leave your thoughts down below in the comment section, and you can also vote in my Twitter poll and follow me over there while you're at it. So if you enjoyed the video, a like rating would be much appreciated as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.